You was born in Memphis. How many years did you spend in Memphis? Because I know you ended up being in Minnesota.
Well, I only spent a month. I'm adopted.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is it true that you were stolen?
Stolen, yeah.
Child traffickers.
Yeah.
And you ended up being adopted. Mm-hmm. So how old were you when you found out that this was your adopted parents and not your biological parents?
I think they told me when I was like 5.
Did you ever seek out your?
No.
So you don't. So no. You don't know if you have brothers, sisters.
No, I don't. As recent, it's funny that the guy. How many years ago was that, Wendy?
6.
This is 6 years ago. Somebody reached out. My brother. My real name would be Fred Phillips.
Right.
And my brother reached out to me. I didn't have any interest.
Really?
You know, probably want to borrow money. You know. You know, that goes right.
You didn't want to borrow. You didn't want to lend him any money, huh?
I'll call Steve Austin sometimes. Steve, I don't want to borrow any money. Just call me back.
Right. You mentioned your dad was a doctor. Your mom was an actress.
She worked for the. She wrote a book called In Search of Audience, and she was she was not an actress, but she worked at the
agency,
Sir Tyrone Guthrie Theater.
Okay,
and she was like, what would you say? I don't know. They both were very smart.
Right.
My dad had 2 doctorate degrees.
Right.
One in theater and English, and one in medicine.
What type? When you talk about your dad, you light up. He was a big influence on you, wasn't he?
Yeah. He made me learn how to do everything. 5 o'clock, if I'd be 5 years old, holler downstairs, shovel me out. Because back then, he was OBGYN, right?
Right.
When there were just, a woman wanted her doctor.
Right.
They weren't being passed around the way it is now, right? Where who's on call, it's your turn out, right? I mean, I can't tell you, shovel me out, right? And he wanted to make sure I knew how to work every tool. But he was, yeah. We spent a lot of time together.
I read where you had a lisp. You had an impediment as a kid. Mm-hmm. I had one.
Lateral lisp.
So did kids make fun of you back then?
No, I don't remember. I don't think anybody made fun of me. My parents maybe sent me to a speech therapist and all that.
Right.
Just it's funny. Like they did all this stuff, you know, and I would just so, I would just like to have fun. And like they spent a fortune probably on braces, and then I never wore my retainer.
Right.
You know? And it's right there. All I do is put the retainer on.
Right.
But it didn't. Does it make sense? I just like to be out having fun.
Did you understand that your upbringing was kind of different than your friends in the neighborhood because you had a doctor as a dad? Did you understand that? Or you just looked at it, that's my dad, and I'm a kid, and I just want, like you said, you just wanted to have fun?
Yeah, just fun. Oh, yeah. I don't think people back then didn't judge anybody.
Right.
Could be a doctor, I remember the guy across the street once worked for Hires, Rookburg, if you remember them, years ago. I mean, another guy was an architect. I mean, the neighborhoods were family back. I mean, it's a whole different deal now where everybody's so judgmental of everything.
I read where you went to boarding school.
Mm-hmm. 13 years.
Right. So why did your parents send you to a boarding school?
Because I got in trouble riding a motorcycle around. Well, first of all, I got busted trying to buy alcohol.
How old were you?
I was 15, but I had a leather jacket on. I was in college, right? Mm-hmm. And so they arrested me. My dad was on Father's Day. They had to come get me. And then another time, my parents had bought me a Honda 50, and I was riding there innocently around Lake Calhoun in Minneapolis, and they got arrested. And so the guy said to my mom and dad, "It's military school, reform school," and so they put me in Wheeling Academy. And back then, 10,000 a year is a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Back in I started in 64.
But when you think about it, they really loved you, Rick, because they could have.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
Do you look back at that time and like, wow, this could have went this way, could have went that way, but because of them, it went that way?
Well, you're asking, I'm going to get emotional. I, even though I didn't do anything that is illegal or anything bad, I just feel like I didn't do them justice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they were such good people. I was just wild. Not bad wild.
Right.
Just, and I mean, they drank and all that. It was like that, but I just, you never know. I know, like when my dad died, it took me a week, not a week, 5 days, literally, to go tell my mom my dad died. The healthcare keeper kept calling me. Your mom wants to know how your dad is. I said, he's fine, he's fine. The minute I walked in that room and told her that my dad had passed, she looked out the window, and she never stopped looking out the window for 2 years, and she died 2 years later. And she never spoke.
Wow.
So I don't know what she thought. Interesting that you asked me that. I haven't shared that with a lot of people.
Man.
I couldn't. 59 and a half years, they were like this. And to tell her.
Even though she lived 2 years longer, she really died when you told her he had passed.
She just looked out the window.
Is that why it took you 5 days? Because you knew the impact it was going to have on her?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, listen, so when my parents, they bought a place in a real prestigious retirement community in Charlotte. They had moved to Charlotte by then. And when my mom had to go into assisted living, my dad was still in the apartment. So my mom would call me and say, your mom wants you to go find out where your dad is. Well, my dad was up at the bar. she couldn't walk to get there, but boy, she didn't like him at the bar drinking at 78 years old.
Right.
Think about that. Those are the funniest stories. Yeah, they were very close.
Right.
My mom and dad would read a 300-page book a day apiece.
Wow.
And I mean, my dad would just read, drink his red wine at lunch, and then at 5, Manhattans and Jack Daniels. I remember I bought my dad a bottle of Jack one time, and I said, why would you spend the money on this? Or when I bought a $2 million home in Charlotte, my dad, my mom and dad, I was so proud to show him, right?
Right.
And my dad walked into the foyer and had marble floors and everything. He said, why is this really necessary? He said, Dad, instead of saying,
this was nice, congratulations, son.
I mean, it's crazy. They were so conservative.
Right. What did you think your father wanted you to become? Do you think he wanted you to be a doctor or travel along that path?
Well, no, let me tell you, this is another true story. So when I told my dad I wanted to be a wrestler, I was moving to Charlotte, and I was married at that time, my first wife.
Right.
Mother of my two oldest kids. And I said, can I borrow $400? He said, no, I'm not going to invest any money in something that's ridiculous.
$400?
I went to Vergani, the promoter. Can I borrow $400? He said, no, this is when we grow up and learn how to do it. So I left.
With no money in your pocket? Or how much did you have?
I had about $1,500.
Okay.
And I had like $3,500 or $4,000 that I left with Leslie and my oldest daughter. Mm-hmm. And then I got down there, and Crockett liked me right away, and he pulled me aside and said, how's this working out for you? I said, I love it. And he said, well, here, you want some money to move your family down? He gave me $10,000.
Wow.
I went, what the hell? Are you kidding me?
Was Jim Crockett promotion?
Yes.
Jim Crockett promotion?
The best.
Yeah, it was.